Hello, brothers and sisters. My name is Catherine Ricks, and I was just asked to give a presentation on some things that I learned this past week. I chose to focus on Elder Bednar's book, Increase in Learning, Chapter 4, Doctrines, Principles, and Applications. And as I did so, I felt a renewed sense and yearning to learn and understand more about the gospel of Jesus Christ, as well as how I can be a principle-centered person throughout my life. Before the semester began, I chose to focus on the question, forgive me, how do I learn? And before this semester began, I started reading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in the first part of the book, he talked about how people, many self-help books over the past 50 years, have been personality-centered. If you change this about your personality, then everything will be better. Everything will, you'll be more loved, you'll be more this, more that. But people have found that they're not as happy. So Stephen R. Covey went back to the fundamental core of what people used to live by, principles of character, such as honesty, integrity, ones that he specifically mentions in his book. And so studying about this from Elder Bednar helped me better understand a principle is a real thing, and it's something that's in the gospel too. Things like faith in Jesus Christ, humility, diligence, charity. These are all principles or guidelines with which we can guide, with which we can live our lives to the fullest. So my first question was, how do I apply the doctrines and principles of the gospel more fully in my life? Because I've heard them before, I know them, but how do I apply them? So here's this quote from President Board K. Packer. He said, "True doctrine, understood, changes attitudes and behavior. The study of doctrines of the gospel will improve behavior quicker than a study of behavior will improve behavior." And I know that to be true. I wanted to share an experience from my mission just because I just got back and I'm still a returned missionary. So we wanted to find more people to teach, and we saw this principle in the Preach My Gospel, asking for referrals. And I never thought that would be successful. Why should I ask for referrals? I don't understand the importance of it. So I began to apply this principle, and then I understood. John 7:17 says, "If any man will do his will, he will know of the doctrine, he'll know why Heavenly Father asked us to do this." So my companion and I made it a goal that week to ask for referrals. We received 17 referrals in one day, and we saw more baptisms in that area than in any other area that I'd been in on my mission. And it was amazing to me to see how exercising our faith and asking for referrals, that application, helped me better understand the principle of faith, that God knows us, that He knows what we need, and that if we do His will or apply what we learn, we'll understand the doctrine and the principle. My next question was, how can I become an active learner throughout life? And again, this goes back to the principle theory presented by Stephen R. Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And something that's helped me to become a learner is humility. And I don't know why I have it, because I feel like when I think about it secularly, I have a lot of college education, but I still ask questions. And I feel like there are nothing wrong with questions. The reason that the restoration happened was because one person had a question, one person had a doubt. And I know that as we are humble, and that as we realize we don't know everything, we don't know a lot, that God sees that. And He sees that we have a desire to learn and to know. And I feel like never being content, being happy, but never being content with our knowledge is one way that we can be active learners throughout our lives. Joseph Smith in Doctrine and Covenants said, "Whatever principle of intelligence we attain unto in this life, it will rise with us in the resurrection." So of course, why not keep learning? A thought that keeps coming to my mind as a missionary and now, is understand the doctrine so you can teach the doctrine. And I know that as I strive to understand it, I will be better able to teach the doctrines of the gospel, as well as my students in my future career, and my children, family, church callings, whatever I may be asked to do in life. My third question was, what motivates me to learn and then apply what I learn? And something that I love that motivates me, going back to humility, is this quote. It says, I have learned that I still have a lot to learn. I read this at 12, 13, and I thought that was the best thing anyone ever said. This, as far as I know, the woman was 83, 80s, 90s when she said this, and it's meant a lot to me. That's a motivating factor. Like, there is so much in the world that I don't know. And the more I grow, the more I learn, the more I realize there are so many things that I just don't know about. Richard G. Scott said, knowledge carefully recorded is knowledge available in a time of need. And sometimes we learn things, but we don't understand it enough to then apply it. And I love how Elder Scott said that if we carefully record what we learn, that it's available to us in a time of need. And I feel like as we look back on the things that we've learned in our lives, whether we record it or not, it helps us to apply better the doctrines and principles of the gospel in our personal lives as well as in our careers. I think about my mission every day, and when I remember the experiences I had, when I look back, I can apply it now. And I can see and know that although I am home from a mission, I don't have to forget it. It's not like it was a dream. It's something that I can apply for the rest of my life. So looking back and remembering is something that motivates me to learn and then to apply it in my life. So just as a summary and an application of what we went over today, what I shared, this past week, I learned that a doctrine is the why of the gospel. It's an unchanging truth, something that will never go away, like the doctrine of the atonement, the doctrine of the Godhead, something that is always going to remain the same. And a principle is something that it's a truth that is packaged. It's like the moral of a story I read in my Book of Mormon class. It's this opportunity to take what you learn and say, this principle can apply through many, many different situations in life. Things like service, things like humility, which we talked about today, honesty, integrity, faith in Jesus Christ. These are all principles of the gospel and of day-to-day life. Regardless of if you are a member of the church or not, these things are eternal principles that have lasting value. And I know that as we apply these principles in our lives, as we make commitments to be virtuous, commitments to stand for the family, to have a moral code, things like how invaluable it is to have a standard of dress and of modesty, to have a standard of honesty. And I know that as we have these standards, yes, we will be living the gospel of Jesus Christ. We'll come to understand the doctrine. But I also know that we will be lights in the world, because this world is kind of falling apart around us. It is a dark place that we live. But what a blessing it is to live a good life. Why do we live the gospel of Jesus Christ? Because Is there any other better way to live a life? Truly, I don't know. But as for me, I will choose to serve the Lord and do whatever He requires of me. And know as we follow these doctrines, principles, and then apply what we learn, we will see success, we will see happiness, and we will become what God wants us to be. And help our students.